Man, I'm good, you know. Good afternoon. We are here with you again today on the Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, the number one diaspora in Canada. And we are so happy to have our guests with us we will be talking about enjoying the differences as a couple. And Dr. Alvin, after being married for as long as our guest, you know, you wonder how or where people would be at that number of years. And
Yeah.
we'll find that out in a few minutes. But
Yes.
enjoying the differences, realizing that we are two different people,
Mm-hmm.
but yet we can enjoy the differences of being two separate individuals.
Yes.
Sometimes for some couples, they would become upset because we do things one way or he acts one way and she acts the other way. But here, our couple, we are talking today about enjoying the differences. And I think this is going to be very good because in relationship, we don't have to grow apart. We can grow together. So we
Yes.
have as our special guest today, Dr. Annette Bethel and Minister Franklin Bethel.
Yes.
They are both from the Bahamas and they are going to tell us a little about themselves. Dr. Alvin, maybe you need to greet our guest first before we allow them to take the floor.
Yes. Good evening or good afternoon to all. And it is such a privilege once again to be here during this time, the relationship marriage hour, where we can discuss this great topic of enjoying the differences as couple. But Dr. Maria, one of the things that I have seen, and even from counseling persons, and I'm guessing this is where we can ask our panelists or our guests today, is that married couples try their hardest to get their spouse to be like them.
That is so true. That is
So
so
they don't
true.
enjoy the difference. They want everything to be the same. I want you
Mhm.
to think like me, act like me, carry on like me, and do all of that stuff. Whereas this topic is telling us something totally different today. That
Yes,
if we could enjoy the differences, maybe that may lend to a more healthier, better relationship between husband and wife. So I am so excited to hear what the Bethels have to say to us, and yeah, I'm excited today.
yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things I normally tell new couples, especially when I'm doing premarital counseling,
Hmm.
one of the things I always say is, you are two unique individuals
Hmm.
coming together to enjoy each other's uniqueness.
Oh wow, powerful.
Yeah, because a lot of times, we would try to transform,
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it was never marriage is never meant for me to transform you or for you to transform me, but
Wow.
for us to be able to live together in harmony
Coexist, yes.
with who God has made you to be.
That's
Hmm.
right.
Because he didn't make me you and he didn't make you me. So we
Hmm.
have to learn how to coexist, like you mentioned,
Hmm.
um, together. And once they two become one, then you really don't see two unique. You see one unique couple,
Mm.
and that's what you ought to see.
Hmm.
A lot of times there's too much humming and hawing. I know there's a particular lady who I was doing some counseling with. They have a marriage, beautiful marriage. But because she is a particular way, she expects her husband to be like that too. I say you, I say you
Wow.
need to enjoy what you have.
Hmm.
What she mentions is, say he is a loving husband. I love my husband,
Hmm.
and He enjoys me and he enjoys the children.
Mm-hmm.
But I see sometimes we have to ease up on the butts
Mm-hmm.
and learn how to live with who we have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to add anything
Well,
to
why don't y'all introduce yourselves to
Right.
our couple, to this lovely couple? Let's just introduce you. Introduce yourselves to our listening audience so they could know this great couple. And then we want to know a little bit about you guys. How long have you been married? And all of
Yes,
that good stuff. Please educate us.
yes. I'm going to let her introduce herself first.
Yes.
Well, I'm Dr. Annette Bethel. I've been married to this young man for this year will make 58 years.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Of course, we got married very young.
Wow. That's
we
remarkable.
we have never packed our suitcases to separate.
Let me pause right there. I told her as far as packing your suitcase. I said, when you pack, pack too. Because when you leave, I leaving with you. So
Yes.
you can continue.
Yeah, and oh gosh, no, doesn't mean that every day was sugar and spice and everything nice. It's
Yes.
just that we never took it to the extreme where we wanted to leave home, because differences, if you don't let it get too far in advance, can be sorted out. You can deal with differences, and the foundation of that is having God involved. If God is not involved, the enemy is going to take your thought life, it's going to take your mindset, and it's going to take it wherever the enemy wants to take it. But when we have the Holy Spirit of God dwelling in us, and we go to Him for advice, and we listen to that still small voice, then we can overcome our differences. There are differences that we can celebrate, there are differences that we're glad we have, because there might be some things about me that I'm glad is not true about him, and vice versa. And so look at the positive, look at the benefits of the differences, right? I'm also a pastor, ordained pastor. I don't like to say too much about who I am. I just prefer to say my name is Annette Bethel, and I've been
Yes.
married for 58 years. Yeah, it's not all about the
Accolade.
achievements and the accolades. It's not all about that, because one can have tons of achievements and accolades and be the most miserable, unhappy person in the world.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
So
if you notice, I'm gonna be button in every so often as she speaks, as things come up. You notice she mentioned that she don't like all the accolades. She don't like. She just referred to her as Annette Bethel. She has a brother who who told her one time because he knows that she hates using the term Dr. Annette Bethel. And one of the things he said that stuck with me is that there may be somebody out there who need who you are, but because you are hiding who you are, then they would never be able to call on you because you are hiding who you are.
That is so true. That
So,
is so true.
so whoever you are, tell people who you are, and if they need you, then they say, "Well, let me give Dr. Bethel a call."
That's right.
you can say who you are.
You finish?
Mhm.
Yes, I am Minister Franklin Bethel again. I'm ordained minister in our church, Family of Faith Ministries International, um, pastored by Apostle Rick Dean. Um, and um, we are some of the founding members of this particular church. Okay, and we've been in existence for now 22 years. Yeah. I call myself a marriage coach rather than marriage counselor. A lot of people don't like the word counselor, you know. So I refer to myself as a marriage coach, and because I love coaching people. Whenever I get the opportunity, I coach people. Whenever I get an opportunity, anytime I get in a conversation with persons, marriage, relationships will never be left out of my conversations because that's where my passion is.
Mhm.
So I am very passionate about marriages. And when I hear about divorces as such, it bothers me.
Yes.
So that is who I am.
So, Dr. Bethel, Minister Franklin, tell us during your early years of marriage, how did you deal with the differences? Because usually in young marriages or new marriages, it's usually within that first 5 years that persons just throw in the towel and give it up. How did you deal with
Mhm.
that during your early years of marriage? The difference.
Mhm. Let me start with that, and then I'll let her jump in. In my studies, one of the things that is always said is your first few years is your honeymoon years. It isn't until really after that they start to see differences in each other. But those first few years are really your honeymoon stage. So
Mhm.
we we have never had any difficulty because we have always, with everything we did it together. We've always went for lunch together with whatever job we were on. When it's lunchtime, we go for lunch together. We buy our lunch. We gotta go sit on the beach and eat our lunch together, or we go out somewhere, sit
Wow.
and eat together. Whenever
Wow.
we go on vacation, we never in our 57 going on 58 years take vacation on our each one singly. We always take vacation together. So we don't know what it is
Hmm.
really to be apart. Someone said to me one time, they say, "Well, don't you get stale or get tired of each?" Never. I love this lady. I love her presence. I love being with her. I love her around me. And see,
You
we
know,
should
I
we should never get to the point because when we walk and we stand in front of in front of that minister, whoever it is, one of the things that he says, they two shall be one, and we are one. Two individuals working as one, loving
Mhm.
as one, and that's the way how we
Mhm.
operate.
you took those vows seriously based on what
Oh,
I'm hearing. You took it seriously
oh
because I
yes.
can remember that is how I met you. The talk was these two people are never apart. They go for lunch together, they do everything together, and that's how I met them, Dr. Alvin.
Oh
So that's
wow.
remarkable, remarkable. But tell
Yeah,
me,
it seemed like they never stopped dating.
exactly.
Never,
Yeah.
So tell
never.
me, did you ever get tired of being around each other? Some people, Dr. Alvin, they get tired of it, right?
All
But
the
have
time.
you ever gotten tired of being together?
I think the answer to that is because we were together from, I got married when I was 19. The
18.
the danger and that the reason why we can't be apart is because we have, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, joined ourselves together from such a young age until you almost feel incomplete if you're not together.
Oh
uh,
wow.
yeah, I remember, and that could be a little dangerous when you're getting a little older.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, you don't know what you're looking forward to.
Yes.
But in terms of being alone, uh,
yes.
but I remember one time he went away. I think he was helping one of my brothers with a project in Grand Bahama. I believe that's where it was. And it was the first time that he was going to be gone for like almost 2 weeks because we had never been apart that long. And the first few days was fine. I mean, I was okay. I realized he went away. He'll soon come back. And then as the days began to progress, I was like, oh no, this, I didn't know you could feel like this. It's time for him to come home. It's time for him to walk through that door. It's, I don't want this, I don't know, I would have this kind of feeling when he's out of the house or when he's away from the island. It was frightening.
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, when is he going to come back? When is he going to walk in the door? It's like my focus was divided. Like I couldn't concentrate properly anymore because I got to go to bed every night, and I'm not going to hear that click in the door. And that was a feeling that I never knew. Even if the Lord does take him, I didn't think I would ever have that kind of feeling. But just those almost 2 weeks, I experienced something that I thought I would never experience, and that is his
Mm,
absence.
Mhm.
Because I had never experienced that absence that for that length of time before, and so
yeah,
I
yeah.
I really didn't think the effect would have been that strong.
Yeah, let me tell you
Oh
what
wow.
happened. Let
Yeah.
me tell you what happened to me. She went to Turks Island with her siblings, and I didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did every single night, I slept on the side of the bed where she normally sleeps. Every night, I slept on her side of the bed, so I could feel some sense that she is there.
Oh wow.
He wasn't there in person, but I felt so good just being on that side where she normally sleeps.
So I guess that's the danger of being too close, if you could call it that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I that shocked me because I,
Yeah.
I didn't think that I would have experienced that kind of an emotional feeling when he, like I say, the first few days, he's gone, he's coming back, so that's fine. Boy, when those days, I say, Lord, I can't do this. I can't do this. I say, time for Frankie to come home. You got to send him home. Time for him to come home. I can't go through this.
Mhm.
But it's,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it is.
So,
Okay,
right
okay.
now, how long can you stay apart from each other? Right now.
Well, we normally only stay apart for like 2 or 3 hours.
Mhm.
What?
Yep. Yep.
2 to 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Once on a blue moon, I go to Freeport to spend a Friday night and a Saturday with my siblings.
Mhm.
I don't do it as often. I used to do it more often when my parents were alive because I would go to them, visit them, and especially when they were ill. But these days, I even hardly do that. If there's a family function, I'll go.
But
But
I'm on the phone.
2 nights and I'm back, or most of the time he'll go with me. He'll go with me. But sometimes if he can't make it and it's only a family something, a family meeting, a family whatever, I'll just go for 1 or 2 nights and come back.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that don't happen too often. So yeah. So most of the
Yeah,
time is
this,
when he
this
leaves
is
home.
different.
Most of the time we're apart is when he leaves home to go to a meeting or to go to Wendy's or to go to Kelly's to get some kind of appliances or parts for the car or some construction material if he's doing something around the house. But as long as he's gone, that's the longest we're apart.
Mm, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dr. Alvin.
Yes, this is remarkable. This is different.
It is. It is.
So we
But let
enjoy
me
each
ask
other's presence.
let me ask each one of you this question. Um, um, what would you say was one of the most difficult time or difference that your spouse had that you found that you had to get used to, and how did you do it?
I kind of still getting used to that, and I'll tell you what it is. He's probably not going to agree with me, but this is how I feel. When we got married, we were both shy, didn't talk much. The most talking I did was with my 1 or 2 close buddies from school because I had not too long graduated, and of course my siblings. But I found out as I got to know him, and especially after he got married, that I felt like people used to take advantage of him because he was quiet and nice. He was like nice, nice. And I found myself coming out of my shell, not for my to protect me, but to protect him.
Mm.
And so I came out of my shell to protect him from people who I observed would take advantage of him.
Mhm.
Now the shoe is on the other foot. He is so much out of his shell, you can't get him back in it if you tried. And so I am now crawling back into mine. I don't talk as much anymore. I find myself withdrawing because he takes over everything. He takes over the conversations. He takes over the welcoming aspect of meeting people. He takes over everything. So it's like at this age, I kind of it's a 360-degree turnaround. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm still getting
Mhm.
used to the fact that if I wanted to come out and say something, I can't come out because he already took over.
Well,
So
to
I'm learning now. Leave him. He took over. He took over. You ain't there no more. You in the back seat now. You gotta get in
Yeah.
the back seat. So I'm still trying to get used to that.
Okay.
well, to tell you what happens when we sometimes when we go out. Let's say we're together, but let's say I leave to go inside a store and she is outside. Somebody would meet her and they would start talking, but they can't quite pinpoint who she is.
That's true.
So they would just, I guess, keep talking to try to feel out who this person is. And then when I come out the store and they see me, they say, "Ah, that's who you are." Because I'm a talker. Anywhere I go, I'm a talker. And when I leave, next time you meet me, you will remember me. It's not intentional, but that's just my makeup.
But in the first 5 years, he wasn't.
No.
I went up to nudge him and say such and such, such and such, such and such.
She pushed me too hard.
Now
More than that, did she push you?
I can go back and play shell behind me when you met me.
Sometimes you push people, and after a while, then you're sorry you pushed them.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Because then, too, there are so many persons out there that's listening to us. And for those of you who are listening, we have special guests, Minister Franklin and his lovely wife, Dr. Annette Bethel, here from Nassau, Bahamas. They're joining us in our show today. This show is the Relationship and Marriage Hour, and we're talking about enjoying the difference as couples. So we want to thank you all for joining in with us today. But yeah, Dr. Bethels, they've been together, they've been married for 58 years. This year makes 58 years. Wow. Um, that's way before I was born. Let me
Right,
just say that. That's
Yeah.
right.
way before I was born. So there are some nuggets there that we need to share to our listening audience. And those who are listening, we are live on radio. You can tune in at https double slash lovebay radio.live. Yes, you can tune in to us today, and you can send in all of your questions, all of your comments. You can send them in, and we will give it to the Bethel so that they can answer at the appropriate time. But as we continue in the conversation, Dr. Bethels, there are so many people out there who is having a rough time in their relationship. They're having a rough time um, understanding their spouse and getting over, for lack of a better phrase, themselves to enjoy the next person, because you know that society says that this must happen, that must happen, and all kind of things. And from the backgrounds that they came from, they saw mommy doing this, daddy doing that, and they're looking for all of that stuff to happen in their marriage. What advice can you give to them to overcome this hurdle, that they can 58 years later, look half as good as you guys.
I would say the first sign of anything, seek help.
Hmm.
The very first sign of anything, seek help. One of the things I do in my premarital counseling, because I always tell people, whenever there's anything within problems, I would always ask them, did you have any premarital counseling? And a lot of them say yes. Um, but I always tell people, when you get married, come see me, because I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to be point blank, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you're getting into. It's not a bed of roses, and at the same time, we're not talking about dolly house play. We're talking about serious business.
Amen.
And the last thing, when you stand before that minister, the very last thing he asks you to repeat is still death us do part. You see, they asked us to repeat some nuggets, but those nuggets are both they have both a positive side and a negative side. A lot of times we want to dwell on the positive side for
Hmm.
better. Oh, I love that. Or for worse. No, no, no. Don't bring that one out. For richer,
Yeah.
that's good for it. But for poorer, let's not touch that one. In sickness, every time I get to this particular one, it it does something to me because of a few marriages that I've spoken with, a few persons I've spoken with. I can remember one lady told me, because I was doing some work at the building, doing an inspection at the building, at the duplex where she was, or triplex where she was. And I'm a talker, so I'm going to get some information. And I found out that, you see, when you're getting an inspection done, it could be for various reasons. It could be because you want an idea what the building cost. It might be because you want to get insurance on your building. It could be because you want a mortgage. So she said this one was for settlement. And I knew what settlement was, but I wanted to get it out of her mouth. I said, what do you mean when you say for settlement? She said, well, me and my husband, we are getting a divorce and we need to settle our state. So right away it hit me. I said, well, I got to ask you a question. How long were you married? Because
Yes.
nobody may not be interested, but it's very interesting for me to know. So I said, how long you were married? She told me how long they were married. I said, well, I got to ask you one more question. I said, did you do any pre-marital counseling? And most
Hmm.
of the time, it wasn't happening. You
Wow.
see, what had happened is this lady had gotten a stroke, for better,
Mm.
for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness.
And
And,
in
it,
health.
and her husband couldn't handle. And he left her the very time when she needed him. He left her because he couldn't handle it. So when it comes down to these vows are very sacred to me. And whenever I'm doing any premarital counseling, one of the things I do with each one of them, and I want them to talk in front of the other one so each one could know who they are. I say, I talk to them about their background because they need to know what type of background this guy or this female come from. I need to know, and the person need to know whether, number one, the mother and the father married. They need to
Yes.
they need to know whether they're divorced, whether they're separated. They need to know that. They need to know whether they used to fight. Because that's very important, because if a young boy grows up in a house or in a home where the father is always beating the wife, he's going to feel like that's what he needs to do.
Yes. Yes.
So those kind of questions are very important to me to
Mhm.
ask persons whenever they come to me for premarital counseling. I want to know your background. I want to know who you are. Okay, so this is what I do. So I don't know if you have anything you
Mm-hmm.
need to add.
I think the important thing is, well, I can talk from experience. I
Yes.
believe that if I did not have a relationship with the Lord, there are times when we had our squibbles or our misunderstandings or our disagreements, and we can have some pretty strong disagreements. We can. I mean, after living with somebody 58 years, you can have some disagreements.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I believe that some of them could have been taken way out in left field and caused destructive patterns, attitudes, if it had not been for the Lord. Because when you realize that what you do is not only to be pleasing to your spouse, it's to be pleasing to God.
Yes.
And so when you be pleasing to Him, then you automatically fall in line with what He expects you to do.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So how to handle a situation. And
That's it.
sometimes if you can't get anywhere with your spouse on something that you feel strongly about, um, ask the Lord to do it for you.
Yeah.
Lord, I need you to speak to his mind. I need you to show him where he is making a mistake by the
Yeah.
way he feels about this particular situation. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to show him that he needs to be more forgiving. I need you to show him that he needs to be more loving in certain situations. Now, sometimes too, you have to ask the Lord to show you where you going wrong,
That's right.
where you going wrong, because you might be looking at it from a perspective that you shouldn't be looking at it from. And then the enemy setting you up. The enemy setting you up for destruction.
Big
But
time.
when you have a relationship with God, that protects you.
Mhm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is, at least that is the way I live
Mhm.
with my husband and my children.
Mhm.
I take things to God and I try to figure out or try to listen to his voice to say, no, you don't tell the child this, or no, you don't punish the child this way, or no, you don't steer them in that direction, or you don't say certain things in front of your children. Something like this. Don't tell the child, don't say this in front of the child or whatever. And that is where my guidepost is. My guidepost is in my faith.
Mhm. One of the
Wow.
one of the things I'd like your listening audience to hear and to know, because it may sound like that's a perfect couple. We are not perfect. Far from it.
Thank you. Thank you.
We
Yeah.
have
That's
we have struggles just like everybody else have struggles. The main thing is how do you handle those struggles?
mm,
Yes. Yes.
The one thing I want to mention in baseball, you don't swing at every pitch. There's some pitches that you let go by.
yes. Yes.
And you swing when it's necessary. It isn't every argument that you need to answer to. There's some things you just sit, you listen, and let it go by. So we're not perfect, but we have learned how to deal with situations once it comes. And each one of you out there who may be listening, you have the power to either make it right or get an argument and make it fester.
Mhm.
You have the power to make that choice. I want to leave that part right there.
You need godly
Wow.
wisdom. Godly wisdom is
Yes.
what. And I'm not saying this to sound big and spiritual because I said I was a pastor or something. This has nothing to do with being a pastor or trying to be holier than thou. And I'm so religious. I'm such a big Christian. No, this has from the bottom of my heart. I'm telling you that I have to seek the Lord in a lot of situations to so that they won't get blown out of proportion. I seek him because not because of no position, not because of anything that I've been successful in, but I just need the Lord because some things, I mean, as simple as I'm not going to bore you with the whole story, but we're trying to make a decision on pouring another pavement in our yard for a particular reason, and I'm seeing it differently from he's seeing it. And I feel like I have the right way, I have the right answer. He feels like he has the right answer. And something like that could just get you so vexed and frustrated with each other. Just as simple as pouring a piece of slab in the yard, because he's not saying what I'm showing him, and I certainly ain't saying what he's trying to tell me about it, not to do it. And so little, I have seen couples divorce for little things like that. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
God will say to you, "This is not worth your marriage
Yeah.
being on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Pouring this piece of slab is not worth your marriage being on the rocks. You got
No.
to
Mm-hmm.
ask me for wisdom," says the Lord. Ask me for wisdom, and let me show you how to deal with it.
Dr.
Yeah.
Bethel, it reminded me of when I first got
Powerful,
married,
powerful, powerful stuff.
and it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
We wanted to start building the house, and I wanted the house to be a certain way. He wanted it to be a certain way.
Right.
So for me, I just gave up and I said, whatever you want to do. But at the same time I did that, I was not satisfied. So
Right.
every now and then I would find myself just sucking my teeth, sucking my teeth. And he was like, so what's happened? I say, oh, nothing. But it lingers with you. And
Yeah.
it can be annoying. I can understand why some people choose to just end it all because
Uh
it's
huh.
not being resolved.
Correct. Correct.
Now that you are in this position, how do you plan to resolve it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan? Is it that you're going to sit down together and look it over and determine what is the best approach to take? How would that be resolved? Because I believe our audience need to hear this. Because
Mhm.
when we hit a roadblock, no one wants to move.
This one been going on for a while. Um, what I was hoping to do was to I said the man doesn't even go away without me, so I can get it done while he's away, because that would have been a way I could get it done while he wasn't here. But
Uh,
because we don't go away without each other, I get stuck, you see. So there are times, even though we talk about the fact that we're never apart, there are times when I wish we were apart for a few weeks a year, so I could use those weeks to do some things that I know he's going to get in the way and say, no, you don't have to do those things. And I
right.
think that those things are necessary to be done. So,
Mhm.
we're two completely different individuals, even though we are married, and things that we're not going to always agree. We have differences. We're not going to say it
Mhm.
all the time.
I need to I need to say this to your audience again. In any and everyone, there's a leader, there's a head. In all
Mm-hmm.
relationships, there's a head. Sometimes you may have an idea on your spouse. I always tell people, when you hear me use the word spouse, I'm talking about either one. When I want to be specific, I can say wife, I'm going to say husband. But spouses need to listen to each other. But it all boils down to, at the end of the day, you have an idea, and the other spouse have an idea. It has to rest with somebody. Trust. You must trust the head. Either let him make a mistake, or let him realize, let him be true. But trust must come into play. Where you must say, well, I feel like I am right, but I trust my husband enough to make the final decision. That is
Mhm.
not to say that the wife don't be right a lot of times. That's not to say she won't be right a lot of times. Okay? Because sometimes we as husbands, we need to listen to the wives and say, yes, we need to go down that avenue. We can't be too bigoted and too big headed to say, I wear the pants.
Mhm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
we're looking for trouble when we go down that road. There are times when my wife is right, and there are times when I could be right. Okay, so we need to really sit down and analyze our situation and come to a determination what is the best course to take.
Wow. So then you will not feel slighted in any way if she wins this one, or she may not feel slighted if you win this one. But one thing I'm getting from both of you is that it's not going to blow out of proportion.
Right.
So it seemed then the wait period, the delay, is the determining factor, and
Yes.
so keep things together until you both make up your mind who is going to give in.
Yeah.
You know, but our
Well,
younger generation doesn't have that kind of patience.
Yes.
no, that's true.
Not
You
at
see,
all.
Dr. Marie,
That's true.
one of the things I always say, it's not a matter of winning or losing. It is a matter of understanding.
Hmm.
Once we can understand what we are doing, it isn't where I'm winning or losing. I need to understand my wife. And once you can understand your spouse, then you can have an idea. You know, she can be right on this one. This one could be the one that could make it. Let me use wisdom and follow her on this one. Not whether
Yeah.
I am right or I'm wrong or
Exactly.
she is right. Forget the
Exactly.
right or wrong part and let's see which one is is the one that can work. And let's move on from there.
Wow. Very good. Let me just say we have our listening audience. We have Marion Gooden from New York, and she is telling us that it's a good topic. We have James Telfer from Birmingham. He is saying a very educational topic. And Ed is watching us from Kingston, Jamaica. So we want to send a shout out to each of them and thank you for listening to our guests on the program today, because we want to learn. We want our young generation and even some in our your category as well, because sometimes we tend to become impatient, you know. And how much of that do you have in your relationship, Doc and Minister Bethel? Because sometimes our temperament, our emotion will cause us to have bad relationship, because we say, well, I don't have patience, I don't have time for that. How do you see that at all in your relationship?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound quite foolish, but it's truth. There are times when I am upset with him because of like the situation I just told you about with the yard, or it can be any situation. And I'm like, I don't want him to say anything to me. I keep my mouth closed. And do you know what happens? I forget. I forget I'm supposed to be wet. And I'll come right up here and I'll say, oh, such and such a thing, or come go with me down to the store. And then I'd say, oh, gee, I'm supposed to be waxed. I forgot. And that happens to me very often. And I'm like, why are you going to speak so nicely to him and I supposed to be vexed? I just don't remember I was supposed to be vexed.
That's good.
So, and then I get vexed with myself because I didn't remember I was supposed to be vexed. But
Wow.
Yeah, you see, we've learned to we may have arguments, and again, just in case your audience missed what I said earlier, we are not perfect in our
Hmm.
marriage. It's not perfect. We just know how to ride with the storm.
Hmm.
If you can get that, you on the right track. Know how to ride the storm. If you see a bump in the road, know how to duck the bump. But
Yes.
never leave a situation or a relationship because something happened. Learn how to wait because you could jump out of this one and jump out the. They say like how they say jump out the pot in the fire because I already know this lady after 58 years. I already know her. If
Hmm.
I was to get in another relationship, I have to just get to know the other person.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm getting into. Let me hang on to what I have.
That's
Okay, so I
wisdom.
just wanted your listening audience to realize, just in case they missed it, we are not perfect, but we've learned to live with each other, and not to say just put up. No,
Mhm.
it's more than just putting up. I love this woman. I wouldn't trade her in for another model. I love this model.
Oh,
Okay,
very
a
good.
lot of a lot of people say, "Man, I need an upgrade." No, I don't need an upgrade. I'm fine.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about your family, Doc. I love this, and I think our audience are really enjoying this as well. And you can tell them about you, um, your your family, whether you have children. And this is from Sophia out of Bulgaria. Do they have children? What a couple! God bless for sharing. This is from Jen Sophia
Okay.
in Bulgaria.
So yes, ma'am. We were we were blessed with three births. The second one died, so our oldest, other two, that one that died would have been in the middle. Our oldest child is a boy, a young man, a man now because he's in his 50s. He is a pastor. He lives in
Las
Las
Vegas.
Vegas, in the USA. And the younger one is our daughter. She is in her 40s, and she lives in Ohio, USA. We have about almost 20 grandchildren. How many?
You got me about
Well,
50,
the
16.
grandchildren, not just from those two, but there were two young people that we had adopted.
Mhm.
One of them we had from a baby until he died in at the age of 48 and 45, and the other one was just a young lady who we had with us for about 3 years of her life. She was age 5 when we she came to live with us, and she was age 8 when she was no longer living with us. But we call all of their children our grandchildren, so that's where that huge number came from. But
Okay.
biologically, we have 6 biological grandchildren and 4 great grandchildren biologically. And we have very good relationships with our children. They're all Christians. One is a pastor, one is an apostle. So they grew up in a Christian home. But well, I didn't realize we were as strict with them as they now tell us, because they now come back to us and they say, "Well, you never allowed us to do this. We don't." Especially my daughter, she say, "I hardly had friends because you never allowed us to do sleepovers. You never allowed us to go to the mall with our friends and all that at a young age." So sometimes I have to look at them and say, "Well, we're sorry, but we were very young parents. We got married young, so we didn't realize we had you all so strict, that you didn't have much breathing room." So, but they're loving children, and that's about the gist of it. We live in the Bahamas, they live in the U.S. So whenever we go to visit, we stay for a couple of months at a time to spend a lot of time with them. It was always hard to break away. My son, as old as he is, when it's time for us to jump in the car to
He
go to the
was in
airport,
tears.
you see the tears in his eyes.
Oh,
Daughter is likewise my daughter, because whenever we leave her, her husband we found this out over a period of time. Her husband can never take her back home from the airport. He always has to find somewhere else to take her for a while to get her adjusted to the fact that when you walk in that door, mom and dad is not going to be
Mhm.
there. And so that is, she's 48 years old, and he still has to do that with her when we
Mhm.
leave. So I told them the other day, we're gonna have to stop visiting you all because you grieve too much when it's time for us to go back home. So they say, "No, you can't. You still have to come."
But that's only by words. That's only by words that we're gonna stop.
I
Yeah,
know.
Yeah. Now
but
she told you about our son that he's a pastor in Las Vegas. My daughter, she's a gospel artist. She is Doctor Sophia Gibson by marriage, and she has a ministry where she has conferences, ladies conferences, each year, which she does very well with. So she sings, she plays the keyboard,
she's a
uh,
conference speaker as well.
yeah, and she is a
Health,
uh,
nutritional.
a well, she is a nutritionalist, um, but
Awesome.
she also is a counselor slash coach.
Okay.
So that's what she does as well.
Her doctorate is in Christian counseling.
Mhm.
Thank you. What a powerful lifestyle that you even with the kids. Dr. Alvin, you've been quiet.
Yeah, my internet has been dropping and coming in, so please forgive me for that. But I am amazed. I am amazed. You all two are a beacon of light, a beacon of hope to those listening audience and those who are watching us around the world. That marriage is still a good idea because marriage is a God idea,
Mhm.
and if you do it right, um like I say all the time, marriage, it once done right, this is the taste of heaven that we get on earth.
Mhm.
uh, Marriage can be just that, and you all two are a perfect example of that. um and Dr. Miles Monroe and Dr. Maria and I make it a point that we mention him just about in every one of our episodes.
Mhm.
Dr. Monroe makes this statement that the marriage itself is a perfect is a perfect entity entered into by two imperfect beings,
Mhm.
and we are seeing that as we enjoy marriage, we enjoy the differences in our spouse, and that lend to a better marriage.
Mhm.
So, what I'm seeing just from listening to you all talk today is that it must be a mindset change,
Mhm.
that don't see the difference as a problem, see it as a blessing, that
Mhm.
that because you are different, that can add the spice of life to the marriage. Because
Mhm.
even our God, he loves different.
Yes.
If you look at our hand, no, even our fingers, my two pinky,
Pinkies. Yes.
different,
A
different
different.
print.
That's correct.
And that goes to show how diverse we can be,
Mhm.
but we can still operate in oneness.
Mhm.
And you all are a prime example of that. Wow.
Mhm.
I take my hat off to you.
Mhm.
And just being in your presence is good.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. But
Yes.
as we get ready to wind down, and those who have joined in on the conversation today, you can send us a text or you can call in at 437-778-3299. That's our WhatsApp. And you can comment in the chat on our YouTube and Facebook pages. You could send in prayer requests. You could send in your comments. You could send in questions, and we will see to it that Minister and Dr. Bethel gets those. Listen, this is 58 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if anybody tell you marriage doesn't work or marriage is old, it is obsolete, no, we see here that it can work. They look like they more happier now than they were 58 years ago.
Let me
um
put a pause here on you.
yes,
We
go on.
never allowed the honey to leave our moon.
Oh, praise the Lord. How? Tell us
We
how.
stayed on honeymoon.
Tell us how you did that.
I It just happened. We see it has to be something that you want.
Yes.
If you don't want it, it won't happen.
Hmm.
Regardless of what you are going through, you have to understand. Number one, this is God ordained.
Hmm.
And number two, because it is God ordained, you have to want it.
Hmm.
God gave There's something very powerful. God gave every single person the power of choice.
Yes.
You can choose to leave or you can choose to stay. But remember, if you leave, you could jump in something worse than what you come out of.
Mm. That's powerful.
Yeah, that's true. The grass isn't always green.
Wow.
It might look greener at a distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
They always say the grass look. Don't
Mm.
worry about what other people marriages look like.
Mm.
Worry about your how to work your own because
Yes.
it only look greener on the other side. It ain't green. It don't necessarily be big greener.
No.
It appears to be greener.
And we
And
can
you know,
even say there, Minister Bethel, if it is greener, it's because whoever is keeping the grass is doing what they supposed to do.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly,
that's correct.
So
That's
if
That's
you
exactly.
do what you're supposed to do with your grass, it'll
uh-huh.
Yes,
get green as well.
And get it to
yes,
look green.
very
Yes.
good.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
I
Yes,
like
yes.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
Powerful,
Right.
Oh yeah.
powerful.
That's good.
Dr.
So
Maria, I bow down to the Bethel's Day, 58 years.
it's just unbelievable, but it proves one thing. Marriage is beautiful
Yes,
and it can work,
yes, it
you
can.
know,
Yeah.
as
yes,
long as you're willing to water your grass to keep it green, feed
Mm-hmm.
it with the
yes,
food to keep it green, you
Yeah.
will
yes,
have beautiful lawn.
One. Yeah.
yes,
Same thing with marriage. It doesn't
yes,
work by itself. We have to make
yes,
this thing work.
yes.
So before we leave, we wish to thank Bernice out of Nassau. She's listening to us. We wish to just say a shout out to her, Bernice from Nassau. But tell me, Doc, before we wrap up, what advice can you give to any young couple, those especially that may be experiencing a rough road right now, but they want to make this work? What good advice can you give to them?
Well, praying goes without saying, but also find someone you can trust. Now, I know, and I know from experience, that a lot of people you think you can trust, you find out you couldn't trust them. And so that is an issue that we have in society. But if there is a person who is going to be fair, a God fearing person, talk to that person who is going to give you sensible advice, not somebody who's going to say, "Girl, if I was you, I'd leave tomorrow." That's not the person you want, unless, of course, your life is in danger and you see a gun coming at you or a knife at your throat or something like that. But outside of those extremes, find a godly person you can speak to. And then also, if you can, find a person your spouse is comfortable talking to. And together with those persons, you can encourage the husband and the wife, or whichever one needs the encouragement the most. And you can say, you know what, this can work. I remember a couple who came here, but mostly when they come here for counseling, my husband, he's a counseling person, he does it. But at the end of the session, I would appear just to give a word of encouragement. And I remember saying to the young man who say, you see this woman you have here, you call your wife. This is one of the most intelligent, beautiful young women we have around here. How can you not be dedicated to her? How anybody, there are many men who would want to have this woman for a wife. Look how lucky you are. And once you find those people who can have the ears of your spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife, that's a step. That's a step. And I think that will go a long way. It could be a pastor, but some people don't want their pastors to know what they're going through. So find another godly person, and deal with it. Don't just pack and walk out because your friend walked out 2 months ago. My husband has it's a lot in their family. I know your time is up. A lot in their family, and there are a couple of them who are divorced. And I remember one of them said to me when they all the wives, we were sitting together having lunch. And one of them said to me, she said, now, all of us who sitting around the table are divorced and that. Now, you next. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Your time up. It's time for you. And I was like, but I remember telling you all I wanted a divorce.
Ah,
So they were like, you can easily be persuaded. But I didn't ever tell nobody I wanted a divorce. They just figure, well, everybody getting a divorce from these brothers. Only you one hanging in there. What are you going to do? I hang in there. Why
Hmm.
be divorced because you're divorced? You
Yeah.
know. So yeah. So you be careful of the company you keep. Be careful of the people who speak negativism into your ears.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way. If you love that person enough to go to the altar and your life is not in danger, physically speaking, then it can work.
Seek help.
It can seek help, pray, it can work. And if you need some little hints on what do I do to spice up my marriage, we can give you hints. You know, every now and then send a WhatsApp message saying that I just hope you're having a lovely day today. I just realized how much I miss you today. Just a little something that the spouse is not expecting to receive. When they get that message, that's going to brighten their day. Or, you know, let them come home and all of a sudden these flowers appear. It doesn't always have to be the husband giving flowers to the wife. It can be the wife giving something to the husband.
Yes.
You know, just send a little note, rest something somewhere they didn't expect to find. My husband likes chocolates. And if he goes to his bed sometimes and I say, oh, guess what's in this bag? And he would say, well, I believe I know what's in there. And if he opened that and he sees chocolates, he happy. Because out of all the sweet he should not be eating, once you give him chocolates again, he's going to eat it. You know, so little things here and there that would make you smile, make your spouse smile. Especially on a tired day, a rough day, they had a long day. And just a little thing that would make them smile.
Powerful. Powerful. Dr. Maria?
I love it. I love it.
Love it.
To
Yes.
know that we have such a couple in marriage and in love, enjoying the differences.
Yes.
Because we know in marriage we have a lot of it. So we are so happy to have had you as our guest. And I trust that we will, you know, our audience will reach out if they want to, maybe some advice from you, because this is someone that you would want to talk to if you're having a challenge in marriage, because it's not easy. But if you're listening to the wrong ear, or if you're listening from the wrong voice, you can, you know, have regrets.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Dr. Alvin. We thank you so much for being our guest today. And we want you to just say your final word. Let our audience know. Give a final word. You know, I'm just happy to know that we have good relationship like this. 58 long years, 2 beautiful children, and 21 grandchildren, and still strong. Can't stand to be away from each other for more than 3 hours. So, you know, a final word. We're so happy that you came on this afternoon.
Yes. Dr. Marie, I would say, put up my Facebook page. Marriage and family counseling. Marriage and Franklin Bethel. Marriage and family counseling. Pull me up on Facebook, and that's where you can find me. Quickly, I just want to say very briefly, whenever you're going through anything, be careful who you talk to. You could be talking to somebody who have an eye for your wife.
Oh, wow.
You could be talking to somebody who have an eye for your husband. Be very careful who you give your personal information to.
Wow.
I just wanted to leave that with you.
That's good advice. Okay, Dr. Alvin, you want to close us out?
Yes, well, thank you all. Thank you, Bethels, for being a part of our show today. And thank you for who've joined into the conversation. Even though we are signing out now, you can still send your text or call at 437-779-3299. Yes, that number again that you can send your text or call is 437-778-3299. You could chat us up on YouTube and Facebook. But once again, we thank you, Dr. Bethels, for your awesome words. Your life is just a powerful life. And just telling your story, I just wish that you two will sit down one day and write a book, which will be an inspiration for the younger generation, so that they can see that marriage still works, because marriage is a God idea. And until next time here on the Relationship Marriage Hour, Thank you for joining us. My co-host, Dr. Maria MacDonald, and I am Dr. Alvin Hepburn. Both of us are out of Nassau, Bahamas, and we will see you next week, same place, same time, as we
Yeah.
discuss marriage, relationship, and
Yes.
how they can still work. Blessings and peace. Have a great one.
Yes,
Yes.
thank
Good
you.
night.
And thank you for inviting us.
Thank you as
Yes.
well.
Mhm.